Wow, we got a lot of people on here already. Thanks, guys, for jumping on. Welcome to Greater Life, Greater Impact. I am your host, Janet, and I'm a quantum healing practitioner and a soul self-restoration coach. And what I do is I help take people to the uncharted waters of who they really are for healing, for restoration, for spiritual awakening, and for transformation. So if that's something that interests you, stick around. We've got a really exciting topic today, and we're talking today all about how to follow your heart. Everybody needs to know how to do that because that's where you're going as a soul. If you happen to be watching this broadcast as a replay over on my YouTube channel, Greater Life, Greater Impact, please check out the description down below the video as the replay. It'll give you links for how to contact me, how to get in touch with me if you feel like you need to go a little bit deeper and you need things to be a little bit more personalized to you. There's also links for how you can get your hands on some body reading charts that I put together. These are awesome charts, and they took me years and years to compile, but great ways to kind of discover what your body is saying to you and about you. It's $50 for that. All you have to do is just reach out to me and let me know that's something that you want to get your hands on. There's 3 charts in total. Yeah, so there's that. And also I do something called a body audit. It's also $50 for that. It's a $47. It's $47 actually for a body audit. But if that's something that interests you as well, and you're looking to find out what your body's saying to you and about you, and you need that information so that you can move forward and do your inner work, feel free to reach out. You can do that by accessing the links in the description of this video on YouTube. All right, let's get into this. I'm super excited to talk about following your heart. But before we can talk about that, we kind of need to understand that everything in the universe that you think is reality, that's playing out in this physical, dense, heavy, mortal world, everything is energy. Everything. Everything follows the rules of energy. And the spirit realm even communicates through vibration, through the vibes. And those vibrations pass through you and through me, and they pass through all creation. So every animal, every plant, every grain of sand, every cloud in the sky is being influenced and affected by vibrations that are being put out into the universe. And you, as a human being, and also as a spiritual, eternal being, you have the power to generate vibes and influence the world around you, not just influence it, but co-create the world that you live in. In fact, you're doing that already based on the vibes that you're choosing to align with, choosing to be in resonance with, and then choosing to form beliefs and emotions and patterns and physical manifestation around. So how do you know then if you're in alignment with the right vibes that are taking you on your soul's truest, highest, best path? I mean, no path is wrong because we're here to just experience. We're here to learn. We're here to experience. So there's really no wrong path that you could be on. There's just learning. But if you want to up level and rise and ascend up and out of these lower, more dense vibrations in this 3D world, and you want to be more in alignment with what's true for your highest self, your soul, what God wants for you, that path, you're going to feel that. It's not something that you're going to be able to process in your brain. It's something that you have to process with the vibrations that are being put off and sent out and received in through your soul, through your spirit. And that comes in the form of feeling things. What do things feel like? So when you experience things like love and joy and peace and bliss and all of the good feelings that resonate with you and that ring true to you in your body, that's your body manifesting truth. It's your body's way of saying, hey, this is a big fat yes. This is a good path for us. This is a good choice for us because it rings true. There's a reason why we say, hey, that rings true. That resonates. That feels good in my body. It feels good when you say that truth because that's a truth for me and it rings true for me right now in this moment. And that's where I'm going right now in this moment. So anytime in your life that you've ever felt love or joy or peace or bliss or something good that rings true and resonates with you, that's your body's way of evidencing truth. It's your body's way of witnessing truth because nature, the elements of your physical body will always strive to ring with truth. And you're also going to feel a physiological, biological effect of something that isn't true or something that is, I guess, less true for you. Something that's out of alignment with the vibration of you. So that's, in a nutshell, that's how you follow your heart. You're looking for what is in alignment with what is true for you. What's in alignment with your soul. And your physical body will show the effects of that stuff. So we live in a 3D world. Some people would call that a telestial world. It's very dense. This is the place where we get resistance. This is the place where there's contrast. This is gym. It's the gym. It's where you go to lift weights. You don't ever see people running around in the gym complaining about how heavy the weights. Well, maybe you do. Some people probably do. But they're there for a purpose. They know they're there to experience the resistance so that they can get strong muscles, so that they can increase their power and their strength, so they can up level physiologically. It's the same is true for this world that we're in. This is a place of learning. It's a place of resistance. It's a place of contrast. And so when we come to this earth and we get the contrast and we have experiences that show us trauma and drama and stuff that's out of alignment with the truest nature of our soul, it's probably not going to feel good. So what happens to us is we can either choose to step back into what is alignment with us, which is ultimately love, or we can choose to be manipulated and coerced and controlled and fall into those lower level emotions and wallow around in those lower level emotions that will ultimately take us out of alignment. And they ultimately will lead to you being manipulated and controlled by the forces of this 3D world that want to control you. They're there to control you. And you're here to experience the contrast, to make a choice to up level up and out of it. So I'm going to share my screen. We're going to do a little bit of, we have a comment here. Katie says, good morning, Greater Life family. Grateful to be here sharing this space with you all this morning. Thanks for sharing that. It's nice to have you guys all on here. It's nice to see your smiling faces. I'm going to share my screen. We're going to go into just a short presentation because I really want to bring this message home. And then what we're going to do is we're going to go into the steps of, hold on, let me focus on sharing my screen first. Where is it? There it is. Then we're going to focus on going through the steps of how to follow your heart and your soul. Hold on. There we go. Here it is. All right. Well, let me just go into presenter mode here. Okay. Hopefully you guys can see that. If you can't, type something into the chat box, let me know whether or not you can see it or not. It's a physical representation of our bodies. So our body is a huge bag of earth element and water. It's technology that allows us to interface with this 3D mortal world, but it's not the sum total of who you are. It's just substance that's responding to your energy vibration. That's what your body is. That's what your body does. It's an interface. It's a device that allows you to interface with this dimension, this 3D dimension. So you as a soul, then, you came here into this 3D world, into this plane to learn through this device, through this body. You're animating the elements of water and earth and material with your own divine intelligence. That's what's taking place. You as a vibration, you as an eternal, infinite soul are animating this device. You're making it go. You're making it work. You're moving through this 3D world by making choices. So this 3D telestial world or sphere that we're in, this is the gym, this is the contrast, this is where you come to experience choice. And we're here to really to choose to rise up and out of this lower, heavier dimension so that we can ascend into higher vibrations. So, but how do we do that? That's the biggest question that people ask is, how do we do that? Kind of have to get a little bit of perspective here. So everything in the universe and in this world is energy. Everything. Hold on, let me see if we can do that again. There we go. And so you have to kind of understand, what are you in agreement with? What are the patterns that are coming up for you? What is your body saying to you through the energetic patterns that keep playing out over and over and over? Because when you're in agreement or in alignment with vibes or with energy that doesn't resonate with your true soul's direction or purpose or path or desire, it's going to keep manifesting. That dissonance is going to keep manifesting in your body, in your bank account, in your relationships. It's going to show up as problems. Unless you choose to change the vibration to a new vibration that is no longer in agreement with that problem. So let's go to the next slide. Hold on. Maybe, here we go. We call that vibrational agreement. So if you're not getting well, if you're not experiencing abundance, if you're not having success in relationship the way that you really want to, if things are not going the way that you're trying to make them go in your life, it's because you're still in agreement with an energy or a vibration that is causing you to create from that space. It's called vibrational agreement. So what we have to do then is, where did my slide go? Hold on. There we go. We're going to go to this one. What we have to do then is we have to shift our consciousness. Jeez, what happened here? There we go. We have to shift our consciousness. We have to shift our perspective up and out of fear and move in the direction of love. That's the way that we make a change vibrationally. We have to move away from fear and towards love, because love really is the truest vibration that resonates with your soul. It resonates with God. It resonates with where you're going. It resonates with ascension. It resonates with truth. It's all the things that we ultimately are seeking for and looking for. So we have to make a shift. We have to literally, every time we make a shift in our consciousness, we're literally leaping out of old dimensions and into new dimensions of reality. And love is what expands our consciousness. So if you look at this depiction of our 3D mortal world, then here we have, this is where the contrast is. This is where we come to learn and grow. This is where our physical bodies give us opportunity to experience contrast through programs and expectations and rules, control, beliefs, experiences, trauma, drama, distractions, manipulations, deceptions, teachings, and programs. And we are very distracted by this stuff. We're very distracted by it, by what other humans are putting upon us and telling us, hey, these are the rules. You obey these rules. And guess what? Maybe you'll be good enough to ascend. Maybe you'll be good enough to connect with God. Maybe you'll be good enough to experience salvation. Maybe, if you obey all these rules. But the majority of the rules, even some of the stuff that you read in Holy Writ, is man's interpretation, man's filter, man's perspective, or man's perception of what those rules are supposed to look like. You're the only one who can determine and decide what the rules are supposed to look like for you as an individual, autonomous, sovereign being. You're the only one who can decide what that's supposed to look like for you. No one can put upon you the cookie cutter set of rules and say, hey, this is how it is for everybody, everywhere. Because that's their interpretation of it. The onus is on you to interpret it for yourself as it rings true for you. Does that make sense? So let's go to the next one. What we're doing, what's happening as the world, as people in this world begin to wake up, and we step into higher levels of consciousness, and we step into higher levels of love and higher levels of truth and light, enlightenment. What happens to us is that through that love energy, we expand. And we literally do make the leap out of one paradigm, one world, one reality into a completely and totally different reality. Even though you might still be in the same body, you might still be on the same planet, you didn't leave and go anywhere, but you might be operating from a completely different dimension of reality. I can guarantee you, for those of you who want to use Christian or LDS lingo, I can guarantee you there are celestial, enlightened, godly beings walking around on the planet right now, even as we speak, right now, who live in a body that looks just like the rest of us. But they are enlightened. They are expanded. They're having a completely and totally, profoundly different experience than you are or than I am. Because they are enlightened, they are celestial or terrestrial. And so what is the difference? How do we go from one perspective to the next? How do we make that leap from the old world, the telestial world, into the new world, which is a terrestrial or a celestial paradigm or level of consciousness or experience? How do we do that? Well, love. Love expands our consciousness. And the old aspects of our reality will start to crumble. We literally will pass through the timelines and dimensions into a completely different experience. So there's a lot of different timelines. There's a lot of different dimensions and perspectives that we can have. And there are ascended beings walking here in many multiple different awarenesses, I guess, paradigms, dimensions of, I mean, we all look like we're walking around on the same level on this same earth, but I guarantee you there's people here walking among you who are having very different experiences than you are. And it's because of a higher level of understanding, a higher vibration that they've allowed themselves to step into. And these are the fruits. This is how you know you're in alignment with higher vibrations of you, higher versions of you, higher, more expanded, more enlightened dimensions of you as a person. So the more love and the more light and the more truth and bliss and joy and all these things, the more of that stuff we infuse into our perspective and into our reality and into our consciousness and our awareness, the more the old ways start to dissolve and crumble from our vantage point. It's not that the telestial world itself is passing away and dying away and everyone's going to die on it. It's that as we, each of us individually, choose to awaken and rise and elevate up and out of these old, lower paradigms and programs, we literally pass through it and out of the old and into the new, into a new world, into a new reality. And sometimes those different realities are going on all simultaneously at the same time. And we can dip back down into the old world from time to time, depending on where we're at on our path. So anything out of alignment with love then starts to go away and pass away and becomes the old paradigm as we step into the new. And so we can choose the vibration of who we really are. We get to decide that. This is the soul's truest path. Okay. Now, here we go. Back to this. We have choices. We're here in this mortal 3D world. We're here in the contrast. We're experiencing contrast. And it's good that we're experiencing contrast because it gives us choices. And we need choices so that we can expand ourselves and so that we can grow. There are basically only ever two choices when you are bumped up against resistance or you bump up against an opportunity to make a choice to go a specific direction or directions in your life. You're going to either choose in the direction of love or you're going to choose in the direction of fear. And fear basically is anything outside of the bounds of fear. Hopefully that makes sense. Now, how do you do that? What does that look like? Anytime you choose in the direction of love, especially self-love, godly love, love for yourself, which then leads to love of others, you are in alignment with your higher self because that's what you are and that's who you are, is love. Anytime you choose in the direction of fear or guilt or shame or any of these lower level emotions, you're operating based on the human aspect of you, which is ego. That's the human aspect. So that's your intellect, that's your brain self, but it's not really the highest version of you. Most humans don't even know how to live their life without fear. They don't know how to make choices based in love and not based in fear, because we're so riddled with fear. We live in a world that's caked in it. So when you choose in the direction of your higher self by following your heart, you're choosing a perspective that is void of fear. This is a perpetual state of inner self-love and godly love. So every time you make a choice, you're choosing by way of either of these two paths. So if you choose from fear, you're going to manifest more of that stuff. You're going to start manifesting relationships and programs and problems and more of the same stuff that you're fearing. So because your body is constantly witnessing to you the accumulative manifestations of your choices. It's going to show up in your body, your bank account, your relationships. So for example, sickness then is just choices. It's the accumulation of choices that happen to be out of alignment with who you really are. So what happens then is as new ideas come in to your paradigm and new perspectives get presented to you, and if they feel right and ring true, you choose in that direction. So, but sometimes what happens to us is, hey, we'll say, hey, this is a new idea. This is a new perspective. That rings true to me. But when the new idea presents itself and it comes up, we have a hard time assimilating the new idea because ego wants to get a hold of it and then talk us out of it and riddle us with fear and guilt and shame and suffering. And people won't like me if I go in that direction, or something's going to happen. I'm going to lose something. I'm going to be in lack. So we have these automatic programs in our 3D world that tell us, hey, these are the rules. This is set in stone. You can't go against the grain. And if you do, you're going to suffer. People will hate you. People will judge you. There's going to be guilt and shame and all these consequences, right? You can't go against the program, even though you know something rings true for you. And so it creates this tug of war inside of us. And so every time you choose to stay in fear or make choices based in fear, because you don't want to go against the grain, or because you're afraid someone won't like you, or you're afraid you'll be shamed or shunned, or something bad will happen. Every time you make choices in the direction of fear, it's like choosing to remain in prison when the door is wide open. Because for some unknown reason, you feel more safe there than you do following your higher self's true perspective. So, for example, if you believe that you're not enough or you're not worthy, it's going to skew the perspectives that you have, and it's going to shape your beliefs around that. And you're going to continue to make choices based in fear, and you're going to create more suffering and more contrast and more resistance until you don't, until you rise up and out of that. So I'm going to stop sharing. There we go. All right. So there was that. So we now have the question that we have to ask ourselves. Actually, before we move on to that question, does anybody have anything they want to add or bring up around that stuff? Anybody have any experiences that maybe they would like to share about that stuff? There's a lot of people in choosing mode right now, and it's hard. Lisa, go ahead.
I'll just make a comment. I just think isn't it amazing that we can be in prison and not even know it?
For some reason, what's going on? Hold on. I cannot hear you. Is anybody else hearing her, or is it just me? Okay. I cannot hear anything. That's not good. Hold on, let me unplug. Okay, now try it.
I just think it's so interesting that we can be in prison and not even know it.
Wow, I still can't hear. That's not good, because then I can't respond to you. Hold on, we have to fix this problem, because if we don't, then I can't engage in. Hold on.
Can you hear anybody else?
I can hear you, Charisse.
Just not Lisa?
Just not Lisa. Try it again, Lisa. See what happens.
I put it in the chat.
Oh,
can you hear me?
I can hear you now.
I just said, I think it's so interesting that we can be in prison and not even know it.
Yeah. Yeah. That is very interesting, isn't it?
And so sometimes you might become aware and maybe get out of one prison, but be in another. And it's like, how do you wake up? You know, I know that some of it's like self-awareness, expanded consciousness, but how do you become aware of a prison that you're in when you don't know you're in a prison?
Yeah, that's a great question. That's a really great question. And I think the answer to that question is we have to learn how to navigate from the true soul's compass. We have an inner compass in here, and we have to be willing to listen and discern. I'm going to go through the steps right now, but I love that question, and hopefully my little steps, because as you all know, I have lists and I came up with steps. And hopefully that will help to answer your question. Hold on, we have one more comment here. Casey says, my best friend and I are currently going through a breakup. I find myself choosing to cater to her feelings during this, even though it has literally been destroying mine. I realized that just last Saturday, based off of the comment of hurt people hurt people. People are masked. They mask their own BS by pointing their fingers at us. Yes, that is what hurt people do. Essentially, they're hiding their own skeletons and putting the spotlight on us so that they don't have to face what they need to heal from. And we do it too. We do it too. We have to take an honest, this hopefully answers your question, Lisa, that we have to take an honest look inside of ourselves at what's in there, what's bubbling up. What am I running away from? What do I need to face? What are the demons inside of me? Why am I choosing to go in these directions based on fear instead of love? Casey says, that was a huge wave of peace over me when I had that thought. Awesome. I hope that makes sense. Yes, it wasn't rambled. It wasn't scrambled. That was very eloquent. Thank you for sharing that. Okay. If you guys have anything else you want to drop into the chat, feel free, or unmute your microphones and just chime in. I don't care. Just interrupt if you want. How do we follow our heart then? So I came up with a few steps. If you have additional steps, please share. I'm not the guru. I am not the end all be all. I'm just sharing with you what I've witnessed in my life personally. So please share your stuff. Casey says we get to choose to ask ourselves, how can I do better? Or we can point the fingers at the other human with forces, which forces us not to heal, but rather to stay stuck. Yeah, because that's victim mentality. You're not going to heal in a victim mentality. So step one that I came up with, if you guys have additional ones, please chime in. The first one that I thought of this morning as I was kind of pondering on this was, step one for me, if you want to choose to wake up and out of this sleepy world, this 3D dense prison that we're in, is you have to have an open mind. You're not going to wake up if you don't have an open mind. If you think, hey, this is truth, this is all there's ever going to be that's truth, it's fixed, it's set in stone, and I cannot go against this one truth that I believe to be true. If that's where you're coming from, you're going to stay in the holding pattern of that truth, and you won't seize the opportunities to rise to higher truths. Think about Adam and Eve. They were asleep in the garden. They were blinded by what they thought was absolute truth. And Adam wanted to adhere to the absolute truth. Eve was like, no, I'm ready to expand. It's time for us to expand our consciousness and grow and produce offspring. That was what she wanted. And she saw that and moved in the direction of where her heart was guiding her to go. And he had to make a choice, right? Same thing. So in order for them to rise to a higher level or a higher version of themselves and grow, they had to transgress a lower law or a different law. They had to transgress the laws of the dimension that they were in order to move into the dimension that they wanted to go to, which really was this fallen world. So in order for them to fall into this lower 3D world, they wanted that. They wanted the experience. They wanted the contrast. She wanted to procreate. That was the choice. So they did fall down into this different dimension. And it's not that it's bad or worse. It's just a different dimension. It's a lot heavier here. And there's a lot of contrast here and a lot of deception and a lot of struggles and challenges and things that distract us. Anne says, it's empowering when we ask ourselves the question, what can I learn from this experience? Yeah, it really is. Because every time we do ask those questions, then it takes us into a place where we have to take an honest look at how did I get here? What did I do? What are my choices? So your life that's swirling around you right now, and even in your body right now, is kind of an accumulation of karmic energy. It's why babies can be born into this 3D world with cancer, because there's an accumulation of unresolved energy in their field. And so they came here to experience that so they could be faced with the truth of the karmic lesson or the karmic energy, so that they could then exercise free will and choose to expand their consciousness and rise up and out of that dense, heavier karmic reality. Does that make sense to you guys? I hope that makes sense. So step one, you got to have an open mind. You have to realize you don't know all things. You don't. Your church does not know all things. Your friend circle does not know all things. Your family does not know all things. Your parents don't know all things. And neither do you, because we're all deceived on some level. Every single human, I guarantee you, that is on this planet is masked and filtered and deceived on some level. I guess deceived isn't the best word, but I'm just going to say filtered with their own karmic reality, their own karmic energy that they're working out for their soul's path. And so there is no cookie cutter way. There is follow your soul's true path or don't. You don't have to. You can continue to stay swirling around in what you believe to be true in the reality that you're in. You can do that. It's all about free will. So, but if you want to rise and elevate and expand yourself and expand your consciousness, you have to have an open mind. Don't assume that you know everything already and that you're good. And I hear a lot of people saying things like, God would never tell you to X, Y, Z. God would never tell you to move across the country, divorce your family, change your identity, or whatever it is. Like, God would never tell you that. I know, because I know the rules of this world. And my reality or my truth about that is, how do you know? How do you know that God would never? Do you know God that well? That you know God's mind and will better than he does for somebody else, right? You don't know where someone's true soul or their heart or God is going to lead somebody else for their specific learning and their specific path that's right for them. You don't know. So it's impossible for us to point fingers and judge others. We can't. We can think that we're calling people out and saying, oh, you're doing it wrong, or they're doing it wrong. The truth is, we're all here doing exactly what we're supposed to be doing. And we're right where we're supposed to be. Even the good, even the bad. We're all playing roles. And we're all right where we're supposed to be, playing a role in the evolving of humans on the earth. Go ahead, Charisse.
I think if you look back too at the example that you just gave about Adam and Eve, they were given commandments, but they couldn't always fulfill those commandments without breaking other commandments, right? So they were commanded to multiply and replenish the earth, but they could not in that state of the Garden of Eden. So they had to break the commandment and partake of the fruit in order to fulfill the other commandment to bear children and to raise a family and to multiply and replenish the earth. So if you look at our rules, that we put upon each other that way, that, you know what, sometimes you have to break the rules.
Yeah.
Sometimes in order to fulfill other rules. And that's just the way of duality in this life and this existence. The rules are there as guidelines to help us live and be happy, but they're not the end all be all of us and our happiness. A lot of times we have to just sacrifice the one for the other type of thing.
Yeah.
I don't know if that makes sense.
It's perfect. Yeah, that makes perfect sense. And I agree with that. You have to transgress lower laws or laws of this reality in order to choose to step into a different reality, one that is more in alignment with where you're going. Step 2, we have to be honest with what comes up inside of us. Somebody even mentioned that. We have to be willing to look inside and say, why am I projecting that onto them? Why am I pointing the finger and judging them? What's going on inside of me about that? In fact, somebody posted something. I took a screenshot of it today because it was really good. Somebody posted something on Facebook today that said, when you understand every opinion is a vision loaded with personal history, you'll start to understand that all judgment is a confession. That's Nikola Tesla. So I am not what you think I am. You are what you think I am. You are that. What you're witnessing in somebody else is probably what you are, what you need to resolve in you. So we have to be honest with what comes up inside of ourselves. That's step 2. If we want to awaken and arise and expand our consciousness. And I think most people genuinely do want that. 3, we have to be able to have ways to clear and resolve the karmic inner effects of some of these more dense energies like fear and shame and guilt and anxiety and stress and judgment and disapproval. We have to be proactively seeking to clear and resolve that stuff out of our vessel, out of our own system, so that we can have clarity as we move forward, so that we can make choices from a place of clarity and not from a place of asleep, unconscious programming, just running the treadmill, so to speak. So we have to be proactively resolving the dissonance. Where are we out of alignment with our true soul, which is love? Where are we out of alignment with love or our heart? And we have to find those things, be honest with those things, and clear and resolve that stuff. If you need help with that, reach out to me. I also have connections with other healers in this group who can also help you with that. So if I can't help you, somebody in this group can help you. So reach out. Don't be afraid to do your inner work. And sometimes it's really, really helpful to have someone there that can help guide you through it, hold space for you, and be a witness for your own gunk that you're not willing to look at. Because sometimes we bury it deep. 4, notice where you feel the most aligned. What rings true for you? What feels, people say things like, oh, that resonates. Oh, that rings true for me. Oh, that feels good when you say that. I know that's right. Be willing to pay attention to that stuff. There's something there for you. If it's in alignment and it rings true, you're going to feel it in your body. Okay, so notice that stuff. Pay attention to it. And then move in the direction with it, move into alignment with it, make choices where your choices are more in alignment with those feelings. That's not selfish. It's the most selfless thing you could do. And I don't even know if I like the word selfless. It's the most loving thing, most expansive thing you could do. You can serve at a higher level when you're in alignment with the highest version of you. So choosing yourself, choosing to align with yourself is not a bad thing. It's not a selfish thing. I think we often get caught up in thinking, oh, it's selfish to follow my own path. No, it's not. It's the kindest, most gracious, most loving thing you could ever do, because now you have more capacity to give and love and serve. Okay, 5, make a choice to choose what brings you joy. Make a choice to choose to step into alignment with what feeds your soul and with what feels like love. Do you ever walk down the street and you look into a window at a store and you're like, oh, I love that. I love that sofa or that painting or that outfit or that whatever. Do you ever walk out in nature and you see these grand, beautiful vistas and it just fills your body with wonder? And you're like, oh, I love that. That's what it feels like to follow your heart. That's what it feels like to be in alignment with who you are. So remember those feelings. You'll get little glimpses here and there in your life. Remember those feelings. You can't go wrong. Okay. Number 6, act on the choice. You have to choose. You have to choose stuff. You can't just sit in limbo, and it's not possible to sit in limbo. You're either choosing to go in one direction, which is based in fear, or another direction, which is based in love and alignment. You can't just sit in neutrality. It's not possible. So choosing not to choose something is actually going in the direction of fear. So you have to act. You have to make a choice. I've told you guys this story many times where I was in the middle of a meditation. I was having a conversation with the Lord, and the Lord's like, Janet, you got to choose. You have to make a choice, because I can't guide you. You're asking me for guidance. I can't give you guidance if you're inert. If there's no momentum or motion, go. I don't care what direction. You could pick a million different directions. He's like, I don't care what direction you go in, but you have to make a choice so that you can start moving. When you start moving and rolling forward, then I can give you that guidance. I can show you the feelings and help you steer based on your movement. But choosing is what puts you in the direction. And then acting on that choice is what builds momentum, and it pushes you forward on your path so that you're not stuck. So make a choice, act on the choice. 7 is return to love over and over and over and over. If you are making choices that are out of alignment with love because you're in a place of fear or guilt or shame or regret, or you're just afraid, you don't want to hurt people, you don't want to break the rules, you don't want to project, you're not sovereign. Okay, you have to choose, you have to act on it, then you have to return yourself to love over and over and over and come from that place of love. Casey says, please repeat 7. Number 7 is return to love over and over and over. So that's doing your inner work. It's going inside, recognizing, oh, hey, I'm really dealing with a lot of fear here, or anxiety, or doubt, or maybe I'm being controlled by something outside of me. Okay. So you have to take a look at that stuff and then go inside and clear that stuff up, resolve it for yourself. That's what I do as a practitioner. It's what Charisse and Toby Lynn and Anne and others in this group, that's what they do as practitioners, is help you to return yourself back to a place of love again so that you can return home and navigate from home. And there's an eagle flying right over my window. Sorry, distraction. That was awesome. So you have to clear the emotions as you go that bubble up in you. You have to clear them and return yourself to love, home, over and over and over so that you can navigate. When you have, sometimes you have all these different choices, but ultimately there are only 2 choices. There is the choice of going in the direction of your heart, or the direction of love, or the direction of anything other than love. There's only 2 choices. So if you have a choice to make, if you have a direction that you need to go, if you have questions about where you're going and how to get there, there really are, we can boil this down to 2 directions. One is the direction of your heart, which is love. The other is the other, which isn't love, anything that isn't love. And I've had this in my life. I've gone through this I've had to make big decisions in my life before, as have you guys. All of us have to be faced with big decisions, or what we think are big decisions. And, you feel all the feelings and you're like, okay, I'm certain this is my path. I'm going to do it. I'm going in this direction. I'm following my heart. And then your brain gets involved and the ego gets a hold of it. And now you just feel guilty and you feel terrible. And you're like, it's a lot like that movie Tangled. When she comes down out of the tower for the first time in her whole life, she's down out of the tower and she's like, This is amazing. And then the next second, she's huddled in a corner. I am a horrible person. That's ego, right? I feel terrible. I should have never left. I should have never done. But then she goes back into, this is amazing. And she's running and she's free and she's following her soul and her spirit. And there's freedom and love and bliss. That's higher self and ego. And there's always going to be this tug of war of, this is amazing. I am a horrible person because my choices are going to affect other people, right? That's a sign that there's too much thinking going on and not enough feeling going on. Whenever there's too much thinking going on around your choices, it's going to create this dichotomy. It's going to create a tug of war. I don't know what to do. This is where my heart wants to go, but logic and reason and rules and society and people and family and guilt and shame and shunning and all those things is guiding me and pulling me over here. I shoulda, coulda, woulda, right? I should do this. I have to do this. I'm obligated to do this. I'm supposed to do this. A lot of times that stuff comes from ego. You have to learn to discern. You can't do it from up in your head. You have to get down deep into your body in order to do it. When you get down deep into your body and you learn how to tap into your heart and you start following that path and you start allowing that part of you to lead, that's alignment. Today, we're going to do an exercise similar to what we've always done and we always do in here. You guys are probably going to get sick of my way to do it, but it's the easiest way that I know of to help you connect with your higher self. It's the easiest and the fastest way that I know of. So it's what I do. There's nothing new. There's nothing hard. There's nothing grandiose about it. It's just a matter of where are you going to choose to put your attention and your focus? And will you choose to stay in that state? Will you choose to come from that state as you move forward? Or you're going to allow yourself to go back up into ego and second guess the hell out of yourself until you're fighting the tug of war again and again and again. When you're fighting a tug of war based on, I don't know what to do. Do I go this way or do I go this way? If there's a tug of war, it's because you are not following your heart. You're not. You're allowing your brain to get involved and second guess you. When you follow your heart, you follow your higher self, you cannot fail. Cannot fail. This is your true soul's path. It will not lead you astray. It might lead you into learning. I have a lot of people that say all the time, I thought I was following my truth soul's path and it led me here and this was hard. Well, that was for your highest good. That was for your learning. You chose that. Your soul chose to go in that direction because it wanted the experience and the expansion that came as a result of it. So don't think that just because your life is hard, you're making bad choices or wrong choices. It might be exactly that you're going through the dark night of the soul because your soul wants expansion. It wants to choose. It wants to see things from a different vantage point. And oftentimes we see things from a more humble vantage point, a more true vantage point, a more clear vantage point when we've been through deep suffering. So don't discount the suffering and say that just because I went through the suffering, that was a punishment or I did something wrong or anything like that. Anne says, we have 60,000 thoughts in a day. Mm-hmm. Yeah, and you have to learn how to channel that energy, be in charge of that energy, and sometimes tell your brain to take a seat in the back. You're going to go sit in the back seat for a little while. I got this. Your ego is not a bad thing. Your brain is not a bad thing. You need it to navigate and interface with this world for sure. You need those things. But your brain and your ego will make up stories about you that aren't necessarily true based on the programs and the systems and the beliefs that came out of trauma. And that's not always in alignment with you. So just be aware of that. If you want to follow the godly path, your soul's truest and highest and greatest path, it takes a tremendous amount of bravery, because you're going to get your butt kicked. You're going to get your trash kicked. You're going to go through hard things. If you really want to be a true reflection of the highest levels of love, buckle up, because you're probably first going to experience what isn't love. You're going to be thrust by your choice into the chasm of the contrast of love. And then you'll rise above. You'll make choices that are more in alignment with your heart, based on the experience, based on the learning, and then you'll start choosing more in alignment with love, because there was learning there for you. So if you want to follow your truest, highest path, you have to come to know what rings true for you. And then you got to be brave enough to step into it, even if it's hard, even if it brings some sorrow and some contrast and some learning and some experience for you. It's okay. It's okay. And you've got plenty of people around you, especially in this space, who can hold space for that, who can love you through it, who can support you through it, and then who can help you rise above it and step back into the vibration of love again. We have 3 minutes till the top of the hour. Let's all jump back in and tap into our higher selves. Let's do it. Take a big breath in and a big breath out. I want you to become very aware of this learning device that you're in, the interface with the 3D world, your body. It's a tool. Your body is a tool. And you are the steward and the captain that governs 50 trillion cells or more, give or take. You are the captain. You are in charge of where this body's going. You are in charge of every cell. Your divine intelligence and your love is what is navigating and animating this physical body. Breathe into that. I'm going to take you on a journey down to the base of the spine where you connect with your higher self. It's one of the places, it's not the end all be all, but one place where you can connect to your higher self is the base of the spine. In Kundalini, they say that's where spirit and flesh come together and meet. It's the point of origin of you. And some people do believe that that is an actual energetic portal, a vortex that allows you to drop down into your higher self. So put your attention into that vortex at the base of the spine. And that vortex travels up your entire center channel, but drop down to the base of the spine or under your feet. And just put your awareness at the base of the spine or under your feet. If you want, you can put that vortex, the center point of the vortex, under your feet. And allow that center channel to go up in you as it's spiraling around. I want you to just feel the energy of you spiraling around in a vortex up your center, but you go into the stillness in that vortex. You're not jostling around. You're in the stillness. Go into the center. Breathe into it. So put your awareness at the base of the spine. Breathe into that space, the connecting point with your higher self. Breathe in and breathe out. As you breathe out, drop your shoulders a little bit and just drop down into that vortex. I want you to be aware of your body. Notice if there's any tension or tightness coming up in you. Notice it. Are your shoulders tight? Drop them. On the exhale, just let go, let go, let go. Is your face tense? Are the muscles that hold your eyeballs in tense? Can you soften those? Breathe. Do not hold your breath. Keep your attention at the base of the spine. Is your tongue kind of tight? And is that creating tightness in your jaw and your throat? Could you relax your tongue all the way to the root? Breathe in, breathe out, drop your shoulders, drop down to the base of the spine. Keep breathing into it and let the stillness come to you. Let yourself feel your beingness. Just be. If you feel anxiety coming up in your gut, try to soften those muscles. You can press down on the sternum, just below your sternum, above your belly button, just below the sternum on the upper gut where your belly starts to stick out, if you have that. I have that. So my belly sticks out right there. I'm going to press down with my thumb and I'm just going to breathe and soften and relax. Drop your shoulders, allow your abdominal muscles to release and soften and let go. You don't have to crouch. You can still be tall. Just letting go of the tension and the resistance to you. Come back to your face and soften the muscles. Come back to your tongue and soften the muscles. Come back to your jaw, your throat, your shoulders. You can roll your shoulders around, up and around if you want, if that helps. You can roll your head. Oh man, I'm hearing a lot of crackling. So keep rolling and stretching. Stretch that out until there's no more crackling and until you feel like you have a wider range of motion. Just open up some space there. Open up the resistance, let it go. Soften those muscles, soften the tension. Breathe into the base of the spine. On the exhale, just empty and release. Exhale, drop your shoulders and empty, let go. On the inhale, I want you to pretend that you're breathing light, your I am. You're breathing your I am into every single cell. Every one of the 50 trillion cells in your body is now going, boom. It's expanding with light. Every single cell becomes the sun. Breathe that in. And as you breathe in, you can say your own name. You can also just say, I am. As you breathe out, just let go of all the heaviness, of the gunkiness, the tightness, the tension. Soften it, release it, surrender it, let go, allow. Allow, allow. Allow yourself to go down into the depths, the foundation of your soul at the base of the spine. Allow yourself to just sink and surrender into the foundation of your soul. Allow yourself to just be. Breathe. Don't hold your breath. Now, from that place deep down in your soul at the foundation, expand your awareness. That vortex, put that on autopilot. Let that movement of energy be on autopilot. Just let it take care of itself. Now you expand yourself, your consciousness. Remember how I talked about calling yourself into every cell, calling your I am into every cell, your higher self. And it's like stepping into the center of the sun, and the sun steps into the center of you, and that illuminates every cell every bone, every organ, every tiniest piece of particle of material, of the elements of the earth that is your body. The water and the elements together are being illuminated with light. That's you. That light that's shining through your body and filling up the universe right now, that is you. So I want you to just say a few times, either out loud or in your mind, I am. Keep breathing. Go into the stillness of that and just be, and let go of the tension in your back, in your gut, in your face, in your throat. Just breathe. Breathe right into it. I am. Just be. Allow that I am energy of you, the essence of you, to fill up the universe, to where your light becomes the container of the universe. And now go within, go inside, put your awareness in here, not out there, but in here. Your awareness is also out there. It's covering all that space because you are the container of the universe now. Everything in the universe is within your energy because you're that expanded. So, but I want you to focus in on here, inside you, in your heart. Just focus on the beingness. And I want you to pretend you're looking in the mirror at your higher self and you just say, I love you. I love you. I'm sorry I didn't see you. I'm sorry I was afraid and I didn't see you. I love you. Breathe and soften. Breathe into the heart and say, I love you. I'm sorry I didn't see you. I trust you. I trust that you know where I'm going, that you know what rings true, and that you will never let me down. Because you will give me the feelings that I need to make decisions. I trust you to tell me the truth. I trust that you tell me the truth based on those good feelings that you produce in me, that resonate through my body, that ring true to my soul. I trust you, even if it doesn't ring true to the rest of the world. And even if the rest of the world, the whole world, is pointing at you and laughing and making fun of you or judging you harshly and telling you you're deceived, you're wrong. That's not true. You shouldn't do that. Even if those things are happening, you still go into your heart and you say, I love you. Even if the whole world is against you, I love you. Because do you know why? When you're connected to your higher self in the heart, in that space of true self-love, that is the place that God resides. That is the place where God speaks to you. That is the place where you hear the true, unadulterated, unequivocal voice of God for you. That is the place where deception cannot go, where lies cannot live. It's not possible. Your heart cannot be lied to, and there not be a biological effect of the lie. And you cannot lie to yourself, and there not be a biological effect of the lie. Go into the heart space. Looking in the mirror at your higher self and saying, I love you. I trust you. Because I trust you, I trust God. And because I trust you, God, I trust that you will tell me the truth, always. That you will never not be there for me. And that you will show me what rings true. I trust you. That's where it lives. I love you, Anne. Thank you for saying that. She said it to everyone. Because when you are tapped in and tuned in and turned on to your own self inner love and the love of God now, because that's one, now that stuff within you gets to spill out onto the world everywhere you go. Everywhere you go. People are going to feel the effects of self-love and godly love when they're around you. They're going to feel it. And if they don't feel it's because there's something going on inside of them that's preventing that, because they're lying to themselves. So be honest with yourself. All right. See if there's anything else. Let me just check in. Is there anything else that needs to be said today? Yeah. Okay. So the 4 main disconnects. What happens when you experience sickness, illness, problems with your bank account and your relationships and your ability to thrive and move forward and not feel stuck and not feel terrible all the time or full of fear and anxiety all the time? The reason for that is because there are misalignments. You're out of alignment with truth. So the only way to resolve those problems and those patterns is to get back into alignment with the truth of who you really are. Now, in my quantum healing certification program, I call that the 4 main disconnects. You're disconnected from God because you're disconnected from yourself, which then disconnects you from other humans. There's no unity there because you're disconnected from the 2 most important things. Now you're disconnected from other people and truth. It's going to skew your perspective. It's going to skew the way that you see the world because you have all these disconnects going on. You have to go with what rings true. You have to tap into your higher self, connect to your higher self, and be true to that at all costs. Even if it feels like the whole world's going to crumble down upon you, you have to be true to that. Nobody else, no church can tell you what that is. No leader, no government, no other outside external entity, family member, friend, companion, nobody knows what your true path is but you, because no one else is in this body but you and God. Both of you reside there. Both of you. We use the body as a communication device with the divine. But you can't use it because it'll be filtered and skewed. You can't use it until you're tapped into you. And there's there's plenty of self-love in there to activate the communication. When you get clear on self-love, the communication's going to get very clear to you, as long as you don't allow the ego to step in and talk you out of it. That's how you follow your heart. I just took you through an exercise. I recommend that you go through it every day. Come back and watch this replay over and over and over. Share it with your friends. Tell them to come back to this point in the replay and go through the exercise to tap into their higher self, and so that they can know what it feels like to be connected to self. Once you're connected to self, you bring God into it. And all you got to do to connect to God is think about God. What does that look like to you? Who is God to you? Just think about God. Bring the God energy into that space with you as you're connected to yourself. If God is a father or mother figure to you, or both, bring those father, mother figures into your space and interact with them, communicate with them, feel their love, feel that bliss, feel the fruits, notice the fruits, connect to it. Now you're ready to connect to other humans from that space, being centered. And from there, you're ready to navigate in alignment with truth, because you're in alignment with truth. There's no other way to do it. You can't get there through here. Sorry. You cannot think your way through to navigate your true soul's path. It will never happen. You need both. You need good critical thinking skills, but you also need to know when it's time to tell the ego to allow your higher self to be in charge. Then your higher self will rule the mind. And your mind will be at peace, and it will be still, and it will be clear, and it will be conscious, and it will be present, and it will be more wise than you ever thought possible, and it will be more intelligent than you ever thought possible, and you'll make better decisions just by putting your awareness inside, connecting at the base of the spine and expanding out. That's it. That's not hard. When you put your awareness inside at the base of the spine, connect there and expand out through every particle of your beingness, every particle of your body, you just became the most stable energy in the room. Oof. Good job. Come back and do this exercise often. It only took us, 10 minutes to go through that little tiny exercise. But come back and do it often as you possibly can. I hope you guys have a blessed day. I hope that you choose to follow your heart, no matter what the rest of the world is saying or doing or pointing or saying about you, no matter what the external world brings you. I hope that you always choose to follow your heart, because that's the only authority in your life that is capable of giving you good advice. It's the only authority. Because that's where you dwell and operate with God, who is the ruling authority over your life. Have a blessed day, everybody. And we'll see you next week, same time, same place. Oh, a couple of comments. Hold on one second. Bev says, from Niche Not Han, come back to yourself. I can never pronounce that, by the way. I know what that is. I've just never pronounced that name. Come back to yourself. Most people are afraid to come back to themselves because that means having to face the pain inside. Good job. Blessings. Love you all so much. Take care, everybody. Have a blessed day, and we'll see you next week. Bye.